Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the new Neo Vampiro Gaming podcast channel and YouTube. First official episode ever. And my first episode is going to be talking about the Xbox situation and what's going on with them internally, in my opinion, especially with the Bethesda deal and shutting down a few of the studios and how I feel about it, and my take on the Xbox brand itself. As most of you guys know, my gamer tag is NeoVamp97 or NeoVampiro97 on Xbox, NeoVamp97 on PlayStation, Sony PlayStation, PlayStation 5. Same thing on Nintendo Switch as well. Most of you guys do know that. And I would like to share how I got into Xbox and the Xbox brand. You guys know this was back in 2001 when they came into the scene in November 15th. 20 years ago when they revealed the holiday spread of Xbox. When I first got my hands on it, is when my brother had brought one home for Christmas around Thanksgiving time. And he tells me, hey, I got a new gaming system for you. I'm thinking, good, great, wonderful, but I didn't ask for any of them this time because I already had the PlayStation 1 and 2. Actually, no, I'm jumping ahead. It was the PlayStation 1 I already had. PlayStation 2 didn't come out yet, technically. So, but I had PlayStation 1 by that time. And I was already transitioning from Sega Genesis to Dreamcast to the PlayStation 1 full time. So my brother comes and says, hey, I got you a new system. It's the Xbox. And I'm thinking, the Xbox? What the heck is the Xbox? So I pull it out of the bag. It's this black and white box with green on it. It says Microsoft on it. And I see the name Microsoft because I'm pretty tech savvy, computer aware and all that jazz. And I see Microsoft Xbox. I'm thinking, Bill Gates and company made a gaming system, and this is before Google had their hands on the Google Stadia, way before then. So I'm thinking this is gonna be a joke. What the hell is going on? When did Microsoft decide to say, hey, we're gonna jump into the gaming industry, even though they have done some games on the PC market before, like Doom, Flight Simulator, Age of Vampires. I was aware of that on the PC side. But as a home console thing, I was like, this is not going to last long. And when I got my first game, no, it wasn't Forza, and it wasn't Halo, and Halo was the game that put Xbox on the map. No, for me, it wasn't that. The first game for me, it was Splinter Cell for me originally, and then the first game I played on the Xbox had to be WWE Raw, and also it was Batman Begins. Because if you're asking me for my first true game in Xbox, I don't remember. But those are the games that stick out for me. Okay, and we're talking about Splinter Cell OG Splinter Cell. And that's when I transitioned from PlayStation to Xbox. Because I had just also, in that same time, got Def Jam 2, which I also had on PlayStation. But when after Bash and belittled my brother, I started playing the system, and when I hooked it up, this big box of an X, squarish box that had Microsoft on it, and the only time I knew that Microsoft did a gaming system was for Sega Dreamcast. That's the only time I knew. So, like I said, I turned it on, saw the animation for the boot up screen, which I thought it was cool. And when you hear the sounds of little operators or aliens in the background, or people talking very robotic. I thought that was cool, and every time you made a move on the UI, it made like a mechanical sound, which I thought that was cool too. But when I first played the game itself, I was like, okay, the graphics are hot, the graphics are tight. The Duke controller, the big ass controller, was responsive. It was fine for me because I got decent sized hands. And then probably like after me playing Splinter Cell, and the save state was automatic. Even though there was a save state in PlayStation, the save state was automatic. The snappiness of moving left, right, back, getting your weapon out, being tactical. That what sold me was how smooth the visual was, the sound, the response timing. From Splinter Cell to the wrestling on Raw, that's what sold me on being on Xbox itself. And for those that do know or don't know, the year later came Xbox Live for the very first time. And that's when I started displaying the name Neo Vamp or Neo Vampiro, because the only time I ever used the name was during junior high school. So the following year later, that's when they started giving out gamer tags, and we had to pay to be online, which now it's the everyday norm. But back then, crazy. We had to create tag names and be anonymous and pay to be online, which now we do it without even thinking about it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be sitting here talking about Xbox praises all the way through, because they had done their mistakes. They made their screw ups. Big time screw ups. And I've been playing Xbox for 20 years, but they done their catastrophic screws up. From the original OG to where you couldn't even get your console fixed unless you knew how to put a paperclip through, and you had to go to these mom and pop shops to get it fixed, to when the 360 came in back in 2005, where you had HD at the time, where HD was the norm. Before Blu-ray, this was HD. And I got my first Xbox 360 during Walmart, when Walmart was a thing. And yes, I was part of that red ring of death. What really solidified my love for Xbox was Gears of War. The franchise of Gears of War is what hooked me, and that was my version of everybody's Halo, was Gears of War. And from that point on, I was hooked, because it was Xbox were the brainchild of bringing home the trophy system, the achievement system. Xbox was the first one. They were the pioneers of getting trophies for achievements. When the 360 came out in 2005, do I think they rushed it? They rushed it just to get ahead on PlayStation. And you could tell, because for some players, the moment you turned it on and you just bought it right out of the store, red ring of death. And I went through 4 of them before I actually got a 360, the white one. The white 360, before it became the graphite gray and the Xbox X wannabe. The white one, I went through 4 of them before I found the Xbox that didn't ring red ring on me right away. But for me, it was Gears of War. I got into the story. It was communicating online, meeting new people, getting to meet different people of different lives. You can be a bookworm, a goth. Hell, you could be a football player, and you just never know, because we was all being brought together by the gaming industry of Microsoft. Now, where they did mess up was, like I said, they made the box too fast. They created the red ring of death, and it took them a year and a half for them to fix it. And we bashed them for it, because it was literally red ring of death the moment we turned it on, or 10 minutes later, red ring. And it took them a while to get over that. And I was pissed, because I'm like, spending $300, $400 to get one, and I got the premium one at the time before it was the arcade. Luckily for me, that I didn't have to keep buying new ones, just replace, because the stores will honor the warranty of, if it's busted within 90 days, you could just exchange it. But at least they covered us for the warranty, and they made sure that if we had a problem, they did. Going to Don Matrix with the Xbox One, that's a whole different story. I'm just mentioning all this to give you guys that I've been with the brand for a long time, playing with the brand. I know some of you guys may not even care, but these are just my feelings and my take on it. What do I think about the studios being shut down and Microsoft making these decisions, and Sarah Bonds and her interview, which she bombed it. She did a terrible job. She couldn't even answer it properly when she was being asked, what do you think? I had time to think about this in days, a week or so. And I gotta say, as a company right now, Xbox is not following through with their ideas and promises. Starfield was not the game it was supposed to be. I do have Xbox Game Pass. I think it's a wonderful subscription service. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, because nothing is perfect. That you play like over 100 games for like $17 for Game Pass Ultimate, when back then we had Xbox Live Gold, where we had games on discount. And do I think that's the proper way to go for as a gaming industry model? I hate to say this, but that's where we're headed. We're headed to an all digital future of subscriptions, and like Game Pass or Nintendo and PlayStation, where we might still have a few games that you can get on physical, but it's becoming an online presence. When back then, during the PlayStation 2 era and the original Xbox, there was no online presence. You just started your game up. Maybe you connected it online, because the original PS2, you had to buy an adapter for it. Where Xbox already had that built in, they just added the online feature a year later. To where the 360 and the PS3, the 360 we had to pay for online feature. So it was the original Xbox. But the PlayStation service for PlayStation 3 starting, we didn't have to pay for that. It was free to get online. And to this day, people are still playing PlayStation 3 for that reason. But this is about Xbox here. Microsoft has went through tremendous spending on buying up these studios. And the Activision Bethesda deal was the biggest one, to where the whole government had to get in and really go through making sure that it wasn't like an unfair monopoly, and we're trying to take gaming away and trying to do crazy stuff with Microsoft as a company. I originally thought that having that Bethesda deal with Activision under the Microsoft brand would have been a good idea, and I think it still is in a sense. But since they acquired all that catalog and assets, they haven't really done much with it. Keep in mind that it's only been a certain time now that since the deal has been closed, that they're just now trying to get things in order, to where we are seeing fallout on Game Pass and some of the Bethesda games. Now Hi-Fi Rush just got shut down. I didn't play Hi-Fi Rush, but I heard it was a good game. What else? Call of Duty and all that, which I do play Call of Duty, but not on the Xbox. I play it on the PlayStation side with the same game tag that I just mentioned. From a company standpoint, guys, they spent over $70 billion. $70 billion. I can't even begin to fathom how much money that is to me, because I don't have 70 billion. Not many people do, but that's a lot of money. And for a company like Microsoft to do that, and they have the money. You know, they're one of the biggest companies that have deep pockets. But deep pockets have to make sense on what you're spending. Because if you don't make the return back at a decent time and point, having the layoffs may not be a good thing to do, because you're cutting off jobs and developers and all that, which I think it sucks. It really does. It really does. But, you know, you got to make your money somehow, some way. And, you know, having Xbox look like we're shutting down this studio, we're shutting down that studio, this is going away. It doesn't look good, especially when they keep making all these promises that this is going to be the year, we're going to do this amazing things. And right now, we're all just jumping on Phil Spencer's back. Phil Spencer, which was one of the OG guys that's been with Microsoft since the 360 days, he took the place of Don Matrix. And we can get into how much of a screwed up thing that Don Matrix did with the Xbox One, with the Force of the Connect and having the DRMs in place, where if you wanted to lend your friend a game, they had to get a licensing fee, and if we wanted to trade a game in, we could only do it with certain stores, and how we was being forced to be always connected online. Yeah, we had a big backlash on that. And then his response was, in a short shitstorm, excuse my French, was, well, if you don't like that, play the Xbox 360. That's going to be the only offline console. Which, coincidentally, this is the final year that Xbox Live on 360 is going to be on, because it's going away imminently, really soon. Look at us now, 20 years later. 20 years later, Xbox as a brand has been around. And now, exactly what Don Matrix said, we're going to be always needing an online connection to do online things, has been that. Because look at the Xbox games now. If you have the physical disc, not only that, not all the data is printed on the disc, only a fraction of that data, and the rest of it is being read online through server connections. That's one. Number two, if you need an update for that game and it's a critical update, and if you don't have online access and you can't update that game, you can't go any further in some games. Because if you have the physical game and you can play it offline, you can play it, because it's playing from that old whatever data it has from the disc and whatever save data you have on the console. But without the online connection, you cannot play online. And to talk about PlayStation for a little bit, if I didn't have that online connection for the PS3 and I'm playing God of War, if I didn't have that updated file, my game would not run right. With the Xbox, I didn't go through that problem, because as long as you had the physical game and you put in the disc, it would play, because it would read from the previous data that was on the disc at the time. Now, you look at games now on the disc. As long as you have the disc, you can play. But the moment you want to go online feature, you need the online. So Don Matrix's vision did come true in part, where online all the time. It's not doing online checks, or at least I don't think it is, but it's online all the time. And we have just come accustomed to that as gamers, consumers, and even streamers. Because I'm a streamer as well. I do my thing on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I have a TikTok presence, Instagram on both, and a Twitch as well. With the same NeoVamp97 on Twitch. Same thing as YouTube, and same thing as Instagram. So, when Don Mastrick had mentioned that it was going to be online all the time, and don't get me started with the whole entertainment aspect where it's just TV throughout the whole conference, the gaming part came later. He has so much of a bombshell that he went through that he stepped down. We don't even know if he stepped down because of the bombshell that he did with Xbox One. And it was Phil Spencer that came in to take his role as the Xbox leader, or at least the face of it all, to right that ship. And they rolled back the whole, we don't need Connect, and it won't be always online, and they had to fix a lot of PR problems. And now here we are again later on, still bagging on Phil for a lot of it. We tend to forget that Xbox is not a single company. It's a subsidiary brand by Microsoft. So even though Sarah Bonds, Phil Spencer, and other figureheads of Xbox making decisions, they still have a company boss to respond to above Xbox, and as Microsoft themselves. And they're looking at the bottom line, like, you're spending $70 billion for this, 50 for that, 30 for that. When are we going to see some return here? Because we're spending a lot of money, and when are we going to make this money back? Not to mention that when we did get Bethesda and Activision, Xbox in itself has its own HR. Bethesda at the time had its own HR, and as a company, you know that they're not going to run two separate HRs. They're not going to. So, going as a company, they're trying to make the most financial sense as a business to stay afloat, so that way they can still be here for many years to come. But as much as they're trying to make money, they have to make the best decisions for us consumers and us gamers, because we as consumer and gamers are the reason why the brand of Xbox exists. Because when they bursted on the scene, they took us by surprise, and we could have been like, screw that, no, we're not doing it, it's Genesis, Nintendo, PlayStation all the way, forget it, blah 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 blah. No, it was because of Halo and other games that made us take Xbox in with open arms and make them what the brand it is today, because it's the people that make the brand. It is us that make the brand. It's us that make the brand hot or die. And Xbox right now as a brand, which has been going on for almost 10 years, give or take, they're losing people's trust. They're losing people's faith. As consumers, we're like, why are we want to keep investing money into a company that doesn't seem to know what they're doing, or at least falling on false promises? And I understand that completely. I do. And I'm a diehard Xbox, but even I'm saying it doesn't make sense. So a couple of years later, when they came up with Xbox Game Pass, which was at first Xbox Gold, and then it merged into Xbox Game Pass, and then Ultimate. I love the idea because for the fact of I get to pay $17 a month, and I get to play a lot of games for a cheap price, and I don't have to buy a game that's $40, $60 because I may not have the money right away. And don't get me wrong, I bought a shit ton of games. A shit ton. But if I really do like a game, I at least get to play it on Game Pass first, and then I might buy the digital download version, because I may not even get the hard copy because I tend to go back and forth between buying hard copies to digital, whichever the easiest at the time. But if I really do like a game and I got it to play it from the Game Pass version, depending, I might just buy the game itself because I love it that much. But it was Game Pass that introduced me to that game. Do I get Sony players' point of view and other people's point of view, not just Sony, not to just single out Sony, but other people's point of view, like, oh, we're not buying games on Xbox, we're just getting games on Game Pass. I get that point of view because once the peak of people getting Game Pass peaks out, how is Microsoft making a return on money by not buying the games? I do get that. I do. But I see it like this. If an entry point keeps me interested in the brand, I'm fine. But there is a but. You have to be making smart decisions as a company of if you're going to buy this developer and say we're going to have Activision on our roster so we can bolster our game portfolio, that's great. I'm all for it because they do need a lot of bangers to be Xbox. I'm going to get to my point also of do I believe in exclusive to non-exclusive. I do want Xbox to have a big ass portfolio outside of Halo, Gears of War. Outside of that, hell, I'll even give them Perfect Dark Zero. I'll even give them that. Okay? Because a lot of the titles that they have now were played on other consoles before they were brought to Xbox, or they're multi-platforms and we just choose them to be on Xbox. Because back in the earlier days, Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2 was PlayStation only. It was Grand Theft Auto 3 that came over from PlayStation to Xbox. And then Grand Theft Auto 4 with Nico Bellic was introduced to Xbox off the bat by Peter Moore in his tattoo phase, because he did the same thing with Halo as well. So what exclusives did Xbox have now? I can't say Hellblade because Hellblade is on PlayStation as well. Could I say Helldivers? I think Helldivers is a PlayStation game. Roman's a PlayStation game. Ghost of Tsushima is a PlayStation game. My other favorite one, Death Stranding, is, I believe, a PlayStation game as well. So what do we have as an exclusive to Xbox? I can't really name on the top of my head outside of Gears and Halo. I really can't. Other than Forza, but I really wasn't trying to go with they got the Forza brand. I really wasn't trying to go for that because that's been drummed down to hell. And I love Forza. For the Forza Motorsports brand, and then they brought us the whole Forza Horizon series, which cherry. You know what I'm saying? Now we got the new Horizon coming up, which I might add. Test Drive Solar Crown is coming back. Can't wait. I just want to see Microsoft, as a fan and as a consumer, start making smart decisions, because if they keep going the way they're going, as much as Microsoft themselves, or you might want to rebrand them as Microsoft Gaming Entertainment Industry, no longer Xbox, because there's like small rumors that now they're calling themselves Microsoft Gaming, may not even have a brand if people are no longer interested. And they're not stupid. if the money's not there, as much as they got deep pockets, it'll be like another Sega Genesis situation where the hardware is gone and they just have software. And the only way to do it is PC gaming, which, don't get me wrong, I love PC gaming. I'm not bagging on it. I'm just saying they built the brand and the hardware by springing it on people and surprising us. Don't let all that goodwill that you built up go to waste. Every company makes mistakes and they'll continue to make mistakes, but don't turn into so much of a fire show to where it's unrecoverable. And I feel like we're coming to the edge of a tipping point. Can it be recovered? I do follow Ray on Xbox Ready, and he be having some good insights, but even he's keeping it real with his feelings, and he's hoping that Xbox can turn it around, and it looks like they might be able to, because they got such a big plan for the digital front of things. It's just how they're implementing it. And another two streamers I do follow on the Xbox sides, we're hopeful, but we're also realistic. If they don't start doing better for their brand and treating us as loyal fan people the right way, everybody's gonna walk away and then just go with PC and go with Sony and whoever's left. Because we do have Steam, we do have GeForce on PC, we do have the Steam Deck and all these other programs on the computer. So if you want to turn the company into a digital software brand and not really make hardware, I'm all for it. Because the way I see it, the more you can get your brand on more devices, the better. But as an old school, I get the whole point of having hardware and being a collector and having exclusives. Now, going with the exclusive bit, do I think exclusivity is dead? It might be, because if both sides decide, including Nintendo, I'm going to throw Nintendo in the mix, if all three big companies decide to say they're not doing exclusives anymore, games are going to be on everybody's preferred platform, I would say what's the big deal, but I do get the big deal, because depending on the developer and who has the game, certain games do run better on other companies than every one of them. Funny enough, Sea of Thieves run better on PlayStation than it does on the Xbox. Another game that Xbox made runs better on PlayStation than it does on Xbox. But that's neither here or there. It's just a matter of tweaking things and getting the software data to be right, and how it renders and how it plays. Not to get all technical, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it doesn't go as smooth as planned, and maybe we're being a little bit too critical with the company, because sometimes we do bash on PlayStation as too, and PlayStation has its own fire show of what they've done with PlayStation Plus, and they're trying to do their now backwards emulation with the PlayStation 3, and they're trying to get games to run on an emulation that where we can actually get PlayStation 3 games to be on the system more, where Xbox was doing it before. And they, not say they're perfect, but you can pop in your OG games as long as it's backwards compatible and it's in the system and it recognizes it. You can play your games going all the way back to Xbox OG to now. With the PlayStation 5, you can go back as PS4 and some PS2 titles and PS1s, because they brought it over with reports, but you can't go that far back, which as a gamer we kind of shot ourselves in the foot on that one, because when it was backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 2 and 3 and all that, and the PS3 came out, it was super expensive. We didn't want to pay $800 and so forth, to where the company felt like we're not going to do backwards compatibility because no one cares. Look at us now. Now we care. So we tend to have a pendulum effect where we swing from one extreme to the other. And I go through that too, so I'm right there with you. But Xbox does their backwards compatibility a little bit better than PlayStation. They're not perfect either, because I have Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2 that will not play, as well as Need for Speed Blacklist on 360 will not play, because it's not compatible. It's not in the system. So what I'm saying is, I still have faith. I'm not totally done, but I am leery. Do I care about exclusivity? No, I don't. But what I do care is, if you're going to say what you're going to say and deliver on the promises that you say you're going to deliver just to entice us and keep us interested, keep your word, Xbox. Keep your word and say, we got hard lock 60 frames per second. Especially when you're saying that this is the most powerful system we have with 12 teraflops and all the GPUs, and we got 4K, and on both boxes there's 8K. No one has 8K TVs unless you go to Samsung and buy 8K television. So that's my other issue. Don't just throw out beautiful stuff to keep people interested and then there's no fruits to your labor. Start keeping your word. If you're saying that you're going to run games at this hard lock frame, do it. Because PlayStation does it with Spider-Man, and they got ray tracing and it looks beautiful. Xbox, with their games, they have a hard time doing a hard 30 frames per second. You'd be lucky if you get 40. And I'm not a frame guy and I really don't care, but I do care. If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. Especially if you're going to claim to have, say, we got the most hardest hardware in America that can do XYZ. Fine. Just do it. If you can't do it, at least put out right away saying, we are trying, it'll be patched in, but don't make us expect it on day one, because then we get tired of the letdowns. I get tired of it. And I've been a loyal person of the brand from day one, and as a ambassador to the Xbox program, even I'm like, okay, where's the fruits of what you promised? So I really do hope that in the future, that where we're going with the whole digital age, and will Microsoft still be giving out hardware? I think the hardware aspect will be around, but it won't be as prevalent as we once knew it. Like, as long as you got a device, a Steam Deck, OllyRog, a TV, a phone, a tablet, there goes your Xbox brand. Do I think the Xbox brand will be on a PlayStation device? I don't know. Maybe a PlayStation subscription will be on a Microsoft device, and we'll just start paying for one box. You have your one box that plays a one kind of system on a disc format, if you so choose to, and then you have everything else that plays on a digital front, and we just pay the subscriptions, because I'm paying $20 for a PlayStation and $20 for Xbox monthly, because I'm not doing yearlies. People out there doing yearly subscriptions because it's cheaper to do it yearly than monthly. Most of us are doing Netflix to Hulu or Sling or whatever your preferred platform is on even YouTube TV. So we're paying subscriptions for our preferred taste. Do I think the gaming industry is going to be a crash like it was back in the 80s? I heard of the game Crash of the 80s because I am an 80s baby. I didn't start playing until the Nintendo came in, but that's a whole different story. It all depends on what we mean by the gaming crash. Now, if we're putting out games that don't run as intended, and we just put it out there and then say, we'll patch it in later, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I do agree with my friend Snake. He's one of my best friends. He does play games. He does MLB baseball on his YouTube channel at SnakeWalker82 YouTube. Go check him out. He does baseball stuff all the time, and he has good baseball analytics. But even I do agree with him when he says, I miss the days where I could just pop in a disc and play, and the game ran as intended. And whether it was 420p or even 720, it was a lock because it was on the disc. The game hardware had to produce it. We did have little suggestions that made the frame rates better at the time, but these days, the way the game industry now is, games never run as intended out of the box, and it's always patched in later, or it becomes a dumpster fire and it doesn't run at all. Like, remember Anthem? How Anthem went through? Anthem was supposed to be this big game. So was the game besides Suicide Squad. It was Avengers. Never ran as intended. It became a dumpster fire. So that's what my point of views are. Like, I just want them to start putting out better performing games. Don't gotta be perfect, because nothing is perfect. It's just that if you're gonna make hard promises, we expect a lot, especially if we're giving you our hard-earned money. And I'm a gamer till I cannot take my last breath. I just want games to be as intended. But we're talking about Microsoft. If you're gonna say we're gonna do 60 FPS, that's what I'm hoping for. Especially when you do a whole big conference saying it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, it's gonna be that epic thing, and we get all excited, and then crash. A lot of us do get tired of the burnout. And I'm speaking as a Xbox loyalist. I want to see the brand last for a long, long time. But they got to start making decisions that's not only just good for them, but good for the game developers and the companies that they buy, and the consumers most of all. Because without the consumers, you ain't going to have a company to sell your stuff to. Without the consumers, there is no brand. Despite how much money that a company that really runs the subsidiary brand may put into it. Okay, look at Google and Stadia, for example. Google is another company that has just as much money as Microsoft, and Stadia didn't last long. Why? Because reasons that we fully do not understand. And they have the money. They just, I don't know. I just don't want to see Microsoft Xbox brand become that, to where they put out stuff and I was like, oh, let's backtrack, let's retract. So I'm just hoping that hopefully in the next year or two they can start getting it together. A few streamers I've been watching have been really critical of the situation, and I don't blame them. And these are guys that report stuff all the time, but I don't blame them, because like, when are you gonna get it together? You guys been stumbling since the Xbox One, because their best time in the sunlight was the 360 era, after the Ring of Death, of course. Let's not forget. Again, I'm gonna restate: it was after the Red Ring of Death, because beforehand that almost killed them if they didn't fix that. Okay, and that was only because they had to get that blessing of Steve to say it's gonna cost $1 million to get it right and fixed. Do it. When Xbox just came on the scene and it was known as the Renegades, my opinion. So I really do think the gaming industry will be as strong, but as a digital front, and not so much as hardware as we came to know and love through the early 90s and early 2000s. It's going to become more of a digital front, but we will have our consoles still to say, you want to play it on this device? Fine. But don't be surprised if you start seeing other companies be on their hardware, because it's cheaper to do digital fronts than it is to do hardware production, especially if people are not going out to buy hardware production, because the economy is just struggling. It's not the same. And especially if, what's the point of buying a hardware when it's not going to do as advertised? When the previous hardware is doing it better in some cases. So overall, do I think Microsoft can bounce back? They can. It's not Phil Spencer's fault entirely, because he's got bosses he's got to answer to as well. So he's doing the best he can. But I am getting a little leery of, he's trying to be the good guy of the brand, and he is. It's not his fault that things are the way they are. It's just that the company right now, which I do have faith in, is a little disorganized, and hopefully in the next 2 years they can get better. It's been a decade that they have their ups and downs. It's just nothing is perfect. I just hope for the gaming industry, but for the brand and the people that are loyal to Xbox to this day, even though we're hearing that there's a mad exodus because people are leaving Xbox as fans to go play somewhere else. I think they can bring people back if they haven't left already. It's just that just have to balance it out between making the consumers happy and making the company happy. I think it's possible. It's just that they gotta stop making overdue promises, which they've been doing since the Xbox One era. We're gonna have this, we're gonna have that, and just it falls flat on a lot of things. Well, that's my take on things, guys. You let me know in the comments. Comments open to everybody. I do read them. I do respond to them. Check me out on social medias, NeoVamp97 on Instagram. Same thing on my YouTube channel and Twitch. I do Twitch 5 days a week, mostly from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then 8 p.m. to 11. And then these days I do go 3 a.m. to 8 in the morning, depending on my time and schedule. So catch me then. Leave comments down. Let me know what you guys think. Catch you guys later. Stay extreme. Stay safe. For the moment, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good one.